My name is Sam. I'm a doctor by profession, currently assigned to the emergency department of a hospital. It's a department where I have to work all day, dealing with whatever walks through the door. After becoming a doctor, I was offered a contract job with a Chinese company. My role was to treat the employees working on one of their power plant projects. One day, the manager in charge of that project fell ill and came to me for treatment. Fortunately, he recovered quickly. Over time, we became good friends. 2 months later, the project in England was completed, and the company began wrapping up. On the day the manager left, he offered me another opportunity, a similar project in Sudan. The salary was good, and the offer seemed promising. I agreed. A few days later, I arrived in Sudan. From the moment I landed, I could sense the tension. The situation was unstable, with military presence all around. It felt more like a war zone than a job site. That night, I stayed in a hotel arranged by the company. The next day, a helicopter flew us to a different city. I was told it was a well-known place in Sudan, but to me, it looked like a village, dusty and remote. Still, there were soldiers everywhere. This was where I had to stay. A temporary hospital had been set up, surprisingly well equipped. It had everything, from an operating theater to a body preservation area. The project I was supporting involved laying a 700-kilometer-long oil pipeline connecting 2 countries. Whenever any employee fell ill, they came to me. That was my job. Simple. Until one day, when 2 employees showed up at the hospital and told me I needed to come with them to the work site. I found it strange. Usually, patients were brought to me, never the other way around. Still, I had no choice but to go. After a 40-minute drive through the desert, we arrived at a rocky valley. Workers were gathered there, visibly shaken. In front of them was a deep pit where a tunnel was being dug for the pipeline. They took me inside and explained what had happened. While digging, the workers had found a coffin buried deep underground. No one dared to touch it except 2 men. They pulled the coffin out. Inside was the body of a young girl. She looked recent. Not decomposed, not skeletal. Some even claimed she wasn't dead, that she could wake up at any moment. But no one wanted to take the risk, so instead of bringing her to the hospital, they brought me there. I asked them why they were so afraid. They told me something that chilled me. There is no one living within 20 kilometers of this area. So how could a coffin with a body get buried here? I looked inside. A girl, around 15 years old, lay there, still and pale. She looked as if she could open her eyes any second. I checked her pulse. Nothing. I checked her pupils. No reaction. She was dead. But her limbs were still soft. There were no signs of rigor mortis. It looked as though she had died just hours ago. I returned to the hospital with the body and arranged for it to be preserved. Later, the Army Major General arrived. He asked for a report on the body. I told him we couldn't determine anything without a postmortem. I also mentioned that I wasn't a forensic expert. He replied firmly, "We don't have logistical support to transport the body now. It must be handled here. You'll perform the postmortem. One of our own doctors will assist you. The paperwork has already been done." I was frustrated. This wasn't what I signed up for. I was here to treat sick workers, not examine the dead. I complained to the company. But under military rule, I had no choice. That evening, we began the postmortem. What happened next, I still have no explanation for. The girl's hands and feet, they were no longer cold. They felt warm. As though blood still flowed beneath the skin. The other doctor noticed it too. There were no visible injuries. We decided to examine the head. I made the incision and lifted the scalp. What I saw underneath left me stunned. There was a dark black mark, not blood, but a pattern. It looked like a tattoo, but not on the surface of the skin. It was beneath it. That's impossible. Tattoos are inked on the skin, not inside it. We continued with the chest cavity. I cut it open and froze. It was completely empty. No heart. No lungs. Nothing. The stomach was the same. Instead of organs, there was a piece of cloth. On the cloth was the same strange black mark as inside the scalp, with symbols written on it. Normally, if a body shows no injuries, the skin isn't removed elsewhere. But my colleague insisted we check more. Out of curiosity, I agreed. We lifted the skin from her arms, legs, back, and found the same black tattoo-like marks inside. None of this made medical sense. We preserved all the body parts for toxicology, stitched up the body, and returned it to the preservation chamber. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. The next day, we were ordered to hand the body over to local authorities for burial. When we went to collect it, what we saw left us speechless. The body was there. But there were no signs of postmortem. No incisions. No stitches. No marks. The body was untouched, exactly as it was when we first received it. Even stranger, the organs we had preserved. Gone. Vanished. And the body? Still soft. Still fresh. We alerted the military and company officials. They came, listened to everything, and were visibly disturbed. Orders were given immediately. Bury the body in the same place where it was found. They even moved the oil pipeline 5 kilometers away from the site. I didn't stay much longer after that. The incident haunted me. When I returned to my home country, I received news that chilled me to my core. The 2 workers who had first lifted the coffin were both dead. No injuries. No signs of trauma. Their bodies were found lying on the same rocky valley where the coffin had been uncovered. I have no explanation for what happened. To this day, it remains the most mysterious and terrifying experience of my life.